Hey everybody, Derek here to bring you another video for The Walking Dead countdown to the start of Season 6. And today I'm going to do a video basically going over, will somebody kill Carol in Season 6? And if you'll notice in the title there's a spoiler. And I'm going to be inserting somebody's name in there. This is a big spoiler from the comics, something that if you're not familiar with the comics you're not going to know about. So, if you do not want to be spoiled in any way, do not watch the video because you may be spoiled. Okay. So, if you're still watching, what the title is actually asking is, will Carol be killed by Negan in Season 6? Now, for those of you who may still be watching and don't know who Negan is a villain in the comic books that takes place a little bit later than the story that we're on in the television show. He's the leader of a group called the Saviors, and basically the Saviors go around to various communities, including Rick's group, and demands, supplies in exchange for them killing the walkers in the area. And they're willing to get those supplies by force if necessary. And during the beginning encounters with the Saviors, the leader Negan uses his baseball bat Lucille to kill Glenn. He uses the baseball bat to basically smash Glenn's skull in. It's a very terrible scene. And another thing that was making me think about it was Robert Kirkman was on Chris Hardwick's Midnight show. I don't exactly know what it's called, but it's a show on Comedy Central, and he was basically asked to write some kind of answer. And I guess that answer's kind of, made some controversy a little bit over what's going to happen, because some people know that Glenn, of course, is going to be killed by Negan in the comics. And Robert Kirkman either stated that will happen, that the show will incorporate that death in the same way, or the note was meant to basically negate that and say that no, that's not going to happen. Something else might happen. And I was thinking about it and I thought, maybe Glenn should not be the one that's killed by Carol, or maybe won't be. And wondering if will they make Carol be the victim of Negan instead. And I have a couple of different ideas when it comes to this. So I'm going to explain a little bit. Now, first I want to note that I do not hate Carol as a character in regards to the performance by Melissa McBride or the story development. I don't hate that. I think that they have done an amazing job with Carol. I definitely do. She's been a great character. Melissa McBride just does an amazing job playing that role. And she definitely deserves a lot of credit. I think she should be nominated for an Emmy or a Golden Globe this year. I mean, honest to goodness, this woman does a very good job playing the role. And I would hate to see her go. And I never want to see characters killed on the show anyways. I mean, I think that it's very interesting, but it's also something that you keep in the back of your mind that's going to happen. It's a zombie apocalypse show. Things are always dangerous. And if you don't kill characters off, then it's going to get a little boring. Or it's just not going to be realistic for everybody to survive. But reasons why I think that maybe Carol could be the one killed by Negan instead of Glenn or somebody else. Well, first I note that I don't think many other characters are quote-unquote worthy of that death. That it wouldn't make as much of an impact. When you introduce a villain like Negan, what you're trying to do is basically paint him out to be the big bad villain of the show. Even worse than the governor maybe. And the best way to do that would be for Negan to kill somebody on the show that is just so vital and so important to the show and to fans that it would be heartbreaking to see that happen. And really, the only characters that fit that mold, in my opinion, would be Rick, Carl, Daryl, Glenn, Maggie, and Michonne and Carol. Ones that have been with the show for a very long time now. And I just don't think that the other characters getting killed by Negan would have that same impact that we want it to. And that's no offense to the other characters, but it's just that's kind of what you're thinking in the back of your mind. And I'm thinking, well, You can't kill Rick or Carl. I highly doubt it would be Michonne. Maggie, they probably have some good storylines. So that really leaves you with Glenn, Carol, and Daryl. Well, if Daryl dies, we riot. And I don't think that the show would want to do that. Unless they're planning on ending it with season 7. That might change things. But I'm counting Daryl out. So you get down to Glenn and Carol. Glenn being the one that actually is in the comics. But then you have Carol. And part of my thinking is maybe it would allow the character a chance to come full circle with what's happened with her. I've always felt conflicted about Carol, and I think that many of us have, and I think that's the point of the character. Is that you're supposed to be conflicted about her, I think. You know, ever since she killed Karen and David, it's just been a different spin on Carol, not something that we've noticed before. And we've seen her go to great lengths to do some, very hard things in order to survive in this world. Having to kill Lizzie, going into Terminus, and even some of the things in the Alexandria, community, like threatening Sam, a child, if he tells people that, they got the guns, that, she's gonna, tie him up and leave him for the walkers. And then, of course, the most recent act of her threatening Pete definitely brings to mind something that I wonder about. And some of the stories that I was thinking about for Carol was season 6, and I am going to do separate videos on this as well. But part of me wonders if we're going to get another inside look at what Carol is going through right now. Because I know that when she killed Karen and David and when she killed Lizzie, she did feel bad about it. And she did feel, sorry for it in some ways. She was able to justify herself, as a necessary, action. But you could tell that these decisions affected her, especially when she wanted to, leave the group in Strangers. So we know that this had an effect on her. Now the question is, does she still feel that way about some of the things that she does? Particularly, threatening Sam, and even when she was, threatening Pete with the knife, not saying the guy didn't deserve it, but you look at that and you see that Carol, is continuing to evolve, maybe into something more dangerous than we don't realize, or somebody that, is a danger to herself, maybe. And I wonder, does she still feel bad about the things that she does? Or doesn't she? And that's a lot of questions going into that. But part of me thinks that having Carol be killed by Negan would potentially be something that could bring the character full circle and also have the intended impact that you want it to. Because, ever since Carol killed Karen and David, and, I just don't think she's paid for that sin or that mistake or whatever you want to call it. But it doesn't sit right with me. Now, again, that does not mean that I hate the character, and that doesn't mean that, I want the character to die, because I don't. But I just think that ever since that day, I think that Carol in many ways is living on borrowed time. That sooner or later, it's going to come back to haunt her, or it's going to come back to affect her in a way that could cause her to do something that would redeem her a little bit. And I think that Carol, in some ways, does need a little bit of redemption for that. I think that a lot of people have been willing to overlook that in the group because of what she's done since then, saving them at Terminus. I think that pretty much allowed many people to put that in the back of their minds. But since then, I really don't know what people are thinking about with Carol. And some things I wonder about is, will Sam ever tell Jesse that Carol threatened him? That would be interesting. Because what's going to happen if Sam goes and tells Jesse, yeah, I'm sorry, Dad's dead because I didn't tell you that, Rick and them got the guns and Carol stole them, and Carol said that she would tie me to a tree and feed me to walkers if I did. What happens if that ever comes out? Jesse's going to flip. I mean, no question about it. And, I have to wonder if there is a breaking point for Carol. Is there going to be a thing or a moment where she does something, or realizes the impact of something, and then it hits her just what she has become. And I don't really know if she likes the person that she's become or not. Because we saw in Consumed a character that really, she said about like how her identity got consumed. That the moment that Ed died, that old scared person that was abused kind of got consumed a little bit. And then when, excuse me, and then whenever she got to the prison, she became the person that she always wanted to. But then after she killed Karen and David, that kind of got consumed. And I remember that, and you have to wonder, what does she think right now? And I kind of hope that we do get another couple episodes where we get a little more into insight of what Carol is thinking about. Because I want to know her state of mind, because it's very hard to read her. I don't know if she does these things out of necessity, or whether she does them just to entertain herself, to, act maliciously, or what's her point? Why is she doing these things? And I don't know the answer. And I'm interested to see what they're going to do with her. But I think that it is very possible that Carol will be killed by Negan. I could see a situation where, similar in the comic books, Negan's lining people up and he's going to pick somebody to kill because Rick's group, killed a bunch of the saviors, and that's basically why he kills Glenn, is he just picks him. And it's basically a lesson to Rick, not to challenge him. And part of me wonders if this is going to be Carol's opportunity to, in a sense, redeem herself from what she's done in the past. Taking Karen and David's life and killing them. In a way, giving her own life for somebody else would be a way of redeeming that quality in her. Of, becoming something better. Overcoming what she's done. And I could see a situation where they're all tied up and Negan's walking up and down, giving, because he gives various reasons why he won't kill, like, Rick or Carl or Heath or, in the comics. And part of me wonders if he's going to do the same thing, and maybe he might pass by Carol and go, oh, I couldn't kill a woman, or I couldn't, kill you, you're older, or, maybe he has some kind of interesting justified reason. And then what if maybe he says, oh, yeah, Daryl, yeah, oh, it's gonna be you, buddy, and, he picks Daryl. What if this is the opportunity for Carol to redeem herself and go, why kill him, or maybe taunt him? I could see this going down, like, in my head. Like, seeing Carol taunt Negan into doing her instead of Daryl, or Glenn, or somebody. And then Negan just gets so fired up that he kills Carol instead of Daryl, or Glenn, or somebody else. And that would, of course, have a big desired effect. That it would prompt the group to want to engage in revenge against Negan, because, they're going to be very upset by what's happened, because Carol's done a lot for them. And it would also have the same effect on the audience, because he would kill a fan favorite. I mean, again, I may not like what Carol has done, but it doesn't mean I don't like the character. I love the character, and I love Melissa McBride, and I think that it would have such a big impact on the story and on us if they did that. And I think that it's very likely that if they go through with that storyline, and if Negan is introduced and we get into that situation, I think without a doubt that Carol may be the one that might get killed by Negan. Or not. There are a lot of things that they can do with Carol. I really thought that they were coming to the end with the character, and they're not. They're writing new things, and she's still around, and I'm glad. I'm interested to see what they are going to do. Are they writing towards an end game, or are they coming back and doing something brand new with her? Will she become, the leader of the Hilltop instead of Maggie? Will she become something better, in Alexandria? We don't know. and I definitely can't wait to see what they do with her. It's definitely going to be a very interesting season for Carol, and I really hope they focus on her. But I think that it's very possible that season 6 might be Carol's last, and we may see, um, Negan killing her instead of Glenn, like in the comics. So those are my thoughts. Please feel free to, comment on this. I really want to know what you guys are thinking about on this. Do you agree with me? Do you think something else is going to happen? What do you think? I really want to hear from you guys on this one. Please subscribe. I do have more videos coming. Don't be afraid to share the videos. See if we can get other people's opinions on this. And you guys have any other videos that you want me to do, don't be afraid to ask. I really do appreciate it. Thank you very much, every one of you, for watching. I'm so happy to see that I'm up to 125 subscribers, and I hope that maybe more people will subscribe if they're interested in what I have to say. But I just want to thank each and every one of you again. Have a wonderful evening, and thank you for watching.